Thank you, David. That's a great map you have because it shows exactly all the area of production of Prosecco, and we are located just in the heart of the area of Prosecco in the province of Treviso, which is right in the middle of that map you have there. So Villa Sandi was born in the late 70s, and my grandfather, the founder, whose name was Divo, he bought this headquarter, which is the villa, in the 70s, and it took about 10 years to refurbish. And nowadays is our headquarters. So it's not only the place that we want to show people when they come and visit the property, but it's also the brand, and it's present in all our labels. And also underneath the villa, we have the underground cellars. We have about 1.5 kilometers of underground cellars where we store the traditional method wines that you can see here in the images. We're not only Prosecco producers, so we do produce also Champenoise method, and also some red wines that we age in this barrel that you can see here. Villa Sandi, the actual building, was built in 1622. So next year it will be 400 years that
Wow.
Villa was built.
That's amazing. Do you have anything planned? Is there a celebration, I'm guessing?
We are looking to plan something. Yeah, we're figuring out what to do, but we still have not a plan yet.
It's a beautiful estate. I'm sorry, continue. It's just a beautiful estate, though.
Yeah, so it's a Palladian style villa. So this is a typical architecture of a Palladian style villa. And inside you have this main saloon with all different rooms where noble people from the past used to entertain their guests. So that's the idea of Palladian style villas that were built by noble families from Venice to have their guests entertained in the summertime or in the weekends. So they tend to have all these big ballrooms where they through parties and celebrations. And in fact, the underground cellars in the past, during the First and Second World War, was used as a way to go to the front where they held the battle. So it was not a cellar at that time, not that we know.
Yeah, it's an amazing history, and dating back to the early 1600s is really impressive. Tell me just a bit of history. So your grandfather bought the estates, and then what was the progression? Because I know your father, Giancarlo, was very instrumental in really establishing, Villa Sandi as we know it today.
Yeah, my grandfather Divo was the founder, and my father Giancarlo, who is the president. He saw the opportunity in Prosecco, and I believe this is the key of the success of Villa Sandi, because he saw straight away the opportunity. So he invested in buying lands, buying vineyards, because he really believed in what Prosecco became today. And here in the picture, you can see also my younger brother, Leonardo, who is involved in the company too. And my mother, Augusta, on the right side, she's the creative director.
So it's definitely a family affair, which is amazing. I mean, that's what the ideal situation, to have a family-run winery. I know it's a big operation, so I think you have currently 5 separate estates that you're managing under the Villa Sandi estate. Is that correct?
Yes, we have Villa Sandi, our main company, and then we have a vineyard, an estate in Friuli region, next to Veneto region, and we have a production of typical varieties of white and red wines from the area. And the company is called Borgo Conventi. We acquired 2 years ago, and we also have it in the United States.
Yes, we represent Borgo Conventi as well, so that's another amazing property that maybe in the future we'll be able to bring you back to speak in more detail about that property as well. But yeah, absolutely spectacular. But I wanted to show a few pictures of your estates here.
This is the estates of Valdobbiadene. So we have estates in every single Prosecco appellation. So starting from the DOC Treviso, which are mainly the estates that are surrounding the actual villa. Then we move to Asolo, DOCG, and we have an estate in Nervesa della Battaglia. Then we have an estate in Valdobbiadene, where we produce our Superiore DOCG. And our jewelry is the estate in Cartizze. Cartizze is a very small area of 106 hectares in total. And we have a bit more than 1.5 hectares where we produce our Cartizze La Rivetta. So it's a very unique small production of Prosecco.
And we'll speak more about this area here shortly, but it's just absolutely stunning. And for those who have never had Cartizze, we'll speak about it in a little bit more detail here shortly, but it is unbelievable. I think what unfortunately a lot of Americans don't understand is the complexities and the different ranges of Prosecco. So you have just the DOC, which is that whole big yellow area, but then you with Villa Sandi, you're just focused in the heart, in Treviso and in the sub-appellations within. So the quality really improves as you go to the heart of Treviso there. And I'll just show, because I have it here, there's really a pyramid of quality. So you start out with DOC, and then we move up to, as Diva was mentioning, the DOCGs, and then the Cartizze at the top, which is essentially a Grand Cru if you're comparing it to Burgundy.
Exactly. So here you can see very clear what I was talking before. So we have the Prosecco DOC at the bottom, and then moving to the DOC Treviso. So in order to have the name Treviso province in the label, your company must be based within Treviso. And that's the case of Villa Sandi, for example. And then you have the two DOCG of Asolo and Valdobbiadene. And you have the subzone called Rive, which we have an estate in Rive di San Pietro di Barbozza. And they're called the Cru because they are the highest quality level of vineyards present in the DOCG area of Valdobbiadene, just next to the Cartizze.
And and there's absolutely it's a lot of fun, and just for me as a wine geek, it's fun tasting. Every day, the DOCs are excellent, but then for an amazing meal, as you move up to the DOCG range, it's these wines can really hold up to a whole feast, start to finish. I wanted to get a bit of your details about the climate there and the soil and the terroir. I love these aerial photos of the area. If you could just tell us a bit about production. Are things hand-produced, hand-harvested? Give us just a bit about kind of vineyard management and the climate there.
So in the DOCG area, we harvest by hand because obviously for the disposition of the vineyards, the vines, is not possible to harvest by machine. And in the previous picture, you could see some solar panels that we have all across the roof of our companies. And these together with the hydroelectric power plant that we have installed in the company help us to cut a lot of waste of electricity. So we're able to use green energy from it. And we have a project called Villa Sandi for Life that includes the solar panels and hydroelectric power plant in order to avoid waste of energy and save the planet. I guess that's what we are focusing now, and that's what we will focus in the next 5 years to even improve this, and if we can put more sort of panels all across the roof of the where the production is held, for example.
So, tell us, so I know you're also involved in a lot of other cool things. Like I know there's beehives. I think I have a picture here somewhere. There's the insect hotel, which I thought was interesting. Tell us a bit about those, because I thought those were interesting initiatives.
So in order to have been certified Biodiversity Friendly, which is a worldwide recognized certification by the World Biodiversity Association, we have this called insect and hotel, which are basically boxes called hotel for insects that you can see in the pictures. And there's different species of insects living in there. And of course, they are free to leave anytime because outdoor. So there's people who controls the number of species of insect living in these houses. And in order for us to gain a high score, we need to have a minimum of, I don't remember if it's around 90 species of insects, something like that. And we had it for the past 8-9 years. So this means that the environment is very clean. There is very low pollution, and we also use low pesticides. So we try to keep the environment as clean, as fresh as possible. And we also have the bees in all our estates.
And I think I'd like to speak just a moment about the certification, because I think it's one that a lot of people in the United States aren't familiar with. So the Biodiversity Friend, which is a cool certification. Is it? So what does it entail? Is it you know? So it's insects, but is it an annual certification? What else is involved? Solar power, like you mentioned.
It's an annual certification, and it involves. It's about the some sustainable practices that we adopt in the vineyard, which include the insect and hotel, the bees, and then also the low pesticides. And it's in order to guarantee an healthy environment. And this is part of the project Villa Sandi for Life, which includes also the clean energy.
So I wanted to, if I could find the picture here, before we speak about the individual bottlings, the individual Prosecco, I wanted to, if you can give us a bit of details, because I was reading about it, the on-demand production, which I think is very unique in Prosecco. So tell us what that means, on-demand, why it's important, and why really that separates you from a lot of other producers.
Yeah, so the unique method that we use for all our Prosecco, so not only the DOCG, not only the Cartizze, but all of them are made in the same way. So we produce them, we say, on demand, because after the pressing, we have the mast, and we keep it freeze at 0 degrees Celsius in order to preserve all these natural aromas or these fruity flavors. And we preserve it until we receive the order from, for example, from you guys, and we need to start higher the temperature. So we have the 2 fermentation happening, and then we leave the wine for a few weeks to rest, and then it's ready to be bottled. So instead of having this process all at the beginning, let's say, and then preserving the wine in the bottle, we preserve the juice. So in this way, we say, try to drink your Prosecco as fresh as possible, because that's its main characteristic. We are talking about a Sherman method, so we're talking about freshness, we're talking about fruitiness, we're talking about floral aroma, and that only comes out very well when you have a fresh product. So we try to deliver everywhere in the world the freshest possible. And this implies more cost, because we need to refrigerate these stainless tanks at 0 degrees Celsius for a few weeks and sometimes months. So that can be more expensive and more consuming, but that's our key, and that's what we want to communicate, and that's what we want to deliver, a freshest as possible product.
Exactly. And as somebody who used to manage a retail store, many times you don't know how old the Prosecco is, or is it bottled a year ago, 2 years ago?
Exactly.
With Villa Sandi, you always know that it's fresh and it was just recently bottled.
Yes, exactly.
So that's a great transition to the Il Fresco, which I love that you named your base Prosecco Il Fresco, because it is very fresh and lively. So tell us just a bit about this label, and there's also a rosé we could speak about in a moment, but tell us about this line.
So,
oh, you have a bottle too. Nice.
Yes, the name Il Fresco means the fresh one, and I guess, well, it's Italian, but it's very well known around the world what fresco means, because there's a lot of restaurants that use this name as well, dining al fresco, for example. Right. So we use this name Il Fresco to communicate in the best way the freshness of this product, and this is our bestseller.
For sure, the Il Fresco Prosecco is hugely popular on the East Coast with us, and it's people can't get enough of it. It's just a staple in restaurants and retail. So very classic, very fresh, very bright. And then tell us a bit about the rosé, because some people might not be familiar with the rosé and how it's made. Oh, nice.
The rosé, this is Il Fresco rosé. Mm-hmm. So from the line Il Fresco. This is not a Prosecco rosé. This is a sparkling spumante rosé made with different grape varieties, including Pinot Noir. And this is made in the same way as a Prosecco, but with a bit of skin contact in order to get the color, the pink and elegant color. And from 2020, the big news is the Prosecco rosé. So that's what we started producing. And it is this one here, exactly. So it's a nice and elegant color. And this is made with, the low is 85% of Glera and at least, and the rest of Pinot Noir. We use, depending on the vintage, so between 85 and 90% of Glera, and the rest is Pinot Noir. So it's a trend that it's going very, very well. The whole world of the pink version of Prosecco. So I think all the producers of Prosecco are very happy with the outcome of this new product.
Exactly, and it's surprising to me that it took so long for them to legally approve the term Rosé Prosecco, because for so many years we had Rosé, but you couldn't put the DOC Prosecco on there, which seems crazy because everybody loves Rosé and you're producing it, but for them to allow you to put it on the label, I think it is a huge help, and people have really been, restaurants again and retail have really been loving this new change, and I think it's just everybody loves Prosecco, and now you can see it on the label that it's actually a rosé from the Prosecco region. So I think it is a great development. And as you said, it's Pinot Noir. So I think something again unique in the region is that you produce your own Pinot Noir, correct?
Yeah, we have of Pinot Noir just around the villa, so in the area of DOC Treviso. Mm-hmm. And we've had these vineyards for a very long time because in the past, not just in the past, but we use it to produce also our Champenois method of Pinot Nero that we age in the underground cellar that we showed before.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's something worth mentioning is that something else unique that I find at least is that a lot of the I don't know, is it all your wines 100% estate produced or mostly estate produced? Because you own a lot of acres, you own a lot of hectares of vineyards, whereas versus a lot of producers will just source their grapes. So they'll just buy from small farmers, and they'll, as a co-op, almost bring their wines together to make a blend of different estates. So tell us a bit about that, because I think that's definitely a point of difference in that how many acres that you own and produce of your own grapes.
So we mainly produce from our estates, but we also have a long-standing relationship with our wine growers since 2000, since 1990s. So not all the wine is produced from our estates, but a great part of it, I would say the majority of it, is made from our estate. We have more than 160 hectares all across Veneto region and some in Friuli region as well. So in the DOC and DOCG area, all the air, basically covering all the DOC and DOCG area of Prosecco.
So this is, we didn't mention this in the beginning, so I think this is a good time to mention it now. In the region, the grape used to be known as Prosecco, as was the region. So I think it was 6, 7, 8 years ago, they changed the rules and they changed the name of the grape from Prosecco to Glera. When did that happen, and what was the push to change the name of the local grape?
So there is a town in Friuli called Prosecco, which claimed the name. So as producer, we were not allowed anymore to call the grape itself Prosecco, and that was about 11, 12 years ago. And so from that time, it was decided to call the name of the grape Glera, and Prosecco just refers to the territory. But let's not forget that Prosecco can only be made in the Veneto and Friuli region and some Piemonte if it was the company was already there before this, but cannot be produced, for example, in other regions of the country or elsewhere in the world. Prosecco has to be from this area.
Exactly. I think that's important to note too. Just like Champagne, Prosecco is its own appellation and region. So for those who aren't familiar, you'll now see many times Glera being used or referred to, which is the old term for the Prosecco grape. But 85%, is it 85% has to be Glera for Prosecco?
Exactly.
And then you could blend in some other local indigenous varietals, or
Bianchetta, Perisio, etc. They are name of the local grape variety.
Mm-hmm. So I want to speak just a bit more about the heart here. So let's get into sort of the heart of Prosecco. If you can give us, as we step into the DOCG range, give us sort of the differences. We can go back to the map to show where it is different on the map, but what's the difference as we go from DOC to DOCG here, Diva?
So first of all, when you have a bottle of DOC, for example, you have this label, which is blue, and indicates that is a DOC Prosecco. When you move to a DOCG, the label it's goldish brown, and that's the first recognizable first thing in the bottle. And then the area obviously is much smaller, and it's an area where the DOCG, where the grapes are handpicked, is an area more exposed to the sun. You have a higher quality Prosecco. You have different flavors, more complexity in there. So in some area of the DOCG, for example, where we produce our extra dry Prosecco DOCG, the flavor bouquet is more complex. We have not only apple, not only pear and lime, but we start to to smelling some tropical fruits, some mango, some pineapple, and some almond taste. So it becomes more complex in terms of flavor, and in terms of also I suggest, for example, our DOCG as a food-friendly wine, maybe a bit more than the DOC Fresco, which can be enjoyed more as an appetizer or as a celebration wine. The DOC pairs very well with, for example, a risotto with some scampi or with some prawns, or some raw fish antipasti, or why not? You can enjoy it as well with a nice pasta that we have in our restaurant with cacio, cheese, and pepper.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. So for those listening, there's two important things to look for here. The DOCG on the neck of the bottle, and then you also have it here on the label. And then the words, Vado Biadene, which is that central region. That means kind of the heart of the pristine Treviso area. And it's really noted, as I've read, I've been through there a few times, but it's very hilly, and you have a lot more terrain there versus the flatlands of the DOC. And so you really, as Diva mentioned, you have to do things by hand here, so it's much more difficult. Tell us, so I want to get to the Cartizze, because this is really where I get excited. I love all of your wines, but whenever I have the rare opportunity to taste the Cartizze, it's always a special day.
This is our Cartizze.
So tell us just a bit about it. I know you mentioned earlier it's just a very small property that you own there, but you know, how's it produced? What makes it different from the Vado Biadene?
So the way of production is the same. So on demand from refrigerated mast, but the estate is very small because it's 1.6 hectares, and the production as well is very low, depending on the vintage, but not more than 16,000 bottles a year. Considering it's Cartizze, it's Prosecco, it's a very, very small quantity. And because of that, we wanted to bottle it in a different shape. So instead of the traditional Prosecco bottle, we have this more like round and shorter bottle. And in the label, you can see the name of our estate, which is La Rivetta, which means the small rive, Cartizze, and you see the vintage here on the side of the label. And it is it also has the map actually of our estate on the side.
I love that.
It is a wine that for me is a wine for a special celebration, is a wine for a special occasion, to be enjoyed with food, because food can enhance the qualities and the aromas of this wine even more. So, of course, I love to enjoy it as well as an aperitivo, but for me, pair it very well with a nice pairing. It really enhances its qualities.
For sure. And Cartizze can age for a while, can't it, as well?
It can, but we recommend you to drink the Prosecco as fresh as possible. That's the key. Then, yes, it happened that I have drunk the Cartizze, which was already 5 or 6 years old, and it still maintained very, very well. The bubbles are still fine and persistent, but it's not what we recommend as Prosecco producers to age the Prosecco.
Sure, I absolutely understand. I only mention that because I similar to you, I tasted Cartizze, which was 5 and 6 years old, and it was still beautiful. So, but I understand the freshness, and you know, you have the bright fruit and that complexity. So, so it's It's really been great speaking with you, Diva. You know, I think we really covered a lot in just 30 minutes. We covered the history of the states, all of your different properties, you know, the different bottlings, your family. So, and for those who have never been to the Veneto, it's known as the Garden of Venice, isn't that right? It's because I know your property is beautiful.
Yes, because where we are located, it's about an hour away from Venice, and it's the land where in the past, in the 17th centuries, the noble people from Venice used to come and spend their time to entertain their guests or their summertime, because it was fresher and than being in the city. So that's why it took the name Garden of Venice.
So for those who haven't been to the Veneto or to Treviso, as things open up, definitely visit Villa Sandi. It's a spectacular estate. I know you do have some places to stay there potentially for people who want to visit, but it's an amazing property.
Small hotel by the vineyards located in the heart of Val di Biadene. So we welcome our guests. It has also a very nice, typical local restaurant. And we have the full range of the Villa Sandi and Borgo Conventi wines available for people to try and taste.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Diva. I think we covered a lot, and you know, I think we answered everyone's questions as we went through, actually. So I think we'll end it with that today. But again, Diva, I want to thank you so much, and everyone for tuning in, and our friends over at Folio Fine Wines for everything. And for now, we'll sign off. Ciao, everyone.
Ciao.
Thank you again, Diva. And hopefully we'll see you again soon in person.
Of course. See you soon. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.